Okay, let's take a trip way back in time. We're talking about the 4th century BCE. The Mauryan Empire in India is an absolute powerhouse, a massive civilization, incredibly wealthy, with these huge, organized cities and an army that was just formidable. I mean, it was a world of staggering complexity and scale. So that makes you wonder, right? How could we possibly have a detailed eyewitness account of an empire that existed over 2,300 years ago? Seriously, how does that kind of specific, on-the-ground knowledge survive through millennia of wars, empires rising and falling, and just decay? Well, let's dig into this incredible historical puzzle. The answer, amazingly, boils down to one person. A single foreigner who traveled right into the heart of this massive empire and, this is the crucial part, wrote down everything he saw. He is our eyewitness across the centuries. And his name was Megasthenes. He was a Greek ambassador, a diplomat, and a historian. So he wasn't there to conquer or to trade. His entire job was to observe, to understand, and to report back on what he found. And get this, the context here is just incredible. Megasthenes was sent by Seleucus I, one of Alexander the Great's successors, all the way to the court of the legendary emperor Chandragupta Maurya. He actually lived for several years in the capital city, Pataliputra, which is near modern-day Patna in India. He was right there, literally at the center of power. So after his mission was over, Megasthenes heads back to the Greek world, and he takes all of his notes, all of his meticulous observations, and compiles them into this one monumental book. It was a complete record of his time in India. That book was called Indica, and it quickly became one of the very first and definitely one of the most detailed accounts of India ever written by a foreigner. It basically shaped everything the Greek world thought they knew about this powerful, faraway land. Okay, but here's where the story takes a crazy turn. The original, complete book of Indica, it's gone. It just vanished centuries ago, completely lost to history. A priceless, first-hand account, just seemingly wiped out forever. So that brings us right back to our big mystery, doesn't it? If the book doesn't even exist anymore, how on earth are we talking about it? How can we possibly know what Megasthenes actually wrote? Well, the answer is some of the most amazing historical detective work you can imagine. You see, Indica survived because later Greek and Roman writers, big names like Strabo, Arrian, and Diodorus, they quoted from it a lot. They used it as a source in their own books, preserving little fragments, sentences, even whole paragraphs. So what modern scholars have done is painstakingly gather all these scattered clues from all these different ancient texts and piece them together, basically reconstructing a ghost of the original book. So what did this resurrected book actually tell us? What did Megasthenes see through his own eyes inside the mighty Mauryan Empire? Well, his account paints a picture of a civilization that was incredibly advanced and organized. He talks about the capital, Pataliputra, as this massive, well-planned, fortified city. He was blown away by the strong and super efficient government, the powerful army with its famous war elephants, and he even gave detailed descriptions of India's geography, mapping out its great rivers. And he didn't just stop at the big stuff, the government and the army. He dove deep into the lives of the people. He described the different social classes he saw, the advanced farming and irrigation systems that fed the whole empire, a booming economy, and even little details about everyday customs, what people ate and what they wore. It's a really well-rounded picture. But, and this is a really, really important but, we have to remember that Megasthenes was an outsider looking in. And while he didn't always get everything right, his book is this fascinating mix of sharp-eyed observation and some pretty wild stories. So for historians, the real skill is learning how to separate the fact from the fiction. On the one hand, you have his totally credible reports of a strong government and a planned city, things we can check against other evidence. But on the other hand, you get these fantastical tales he probably just heard from someone, stories about people with no mouths and all kinds of other exaggerated marvels. Yeah, because of this mix of fact and, well, fantasy, historians always approach Indica with a healthy dose of skepticism. It's an absolutely priceless source, for sure, but it is not a perfect one. You just can't take every single word as gospel. You have to read it with a critical eye. So you might be thinking, okay, if it's in pieces and some of it is probably wrong, why does it matter so much? Why is this lost book still considered so fundamental to our understanding of ancient India? Because it is, quite simply, number one. It is one of the earliest, most detailed, and most comprehensive foreign accounts of ancient India that we have. Even in its broken, fragmented form, it's a Jaya. Its importance is just immense. It gives us that unique outsider's perspective, free from the kind of biases local writers might have. It confirms the sheer scale and stability of Chandragupta's empire, and it's an incredible tool for historians. It lets them cross-check information from Indian sources, like the famous Arthashastra, which was basically an ancient Indian manual on how to run a state. So when you can compare an outsider's view with an insider's handbook, you get a much, much richer picture of what was really going on. Ultimately, the legacy of Indica was huge. It basically put the Mauryan Empire on the map for the rest of the ancient world. For the West, it was a window into the power, the wealth, and the complexity of Indian civilization, and it shaped how they saw India for centuries. And it leaves you with this final, fascinating thought. The story of Indica really shows you how fragile our knowledge of the past is, and the incredible work it takes to save it. It really makes you wonder, what other lost histories are out there, just waiting in the shadows, waiting to be pieced back together, fragment by forgotten fragment?